I'm Julia Davis, a film major who stumbled into the business world with no experience in 2006. I was able to fail enough to learn how to run a seven-figure business and have provided consulting services to over 200 individually owned companies. Through this podcast, I hope to provide some perspective on the growth and grit it takes to accomplish big goals and share some hard lessons I've had to learn along the way. Welcome back to the Growth and Grit podcast. I'm your host, Julia Davis. I'm running a series on the 10 biggest mistakes I made while running my business. And last week, if you tuned in, I went over mistake number one. This week, I'm talking about the second mistake that I ran into while I was running my company. Another major slowing point for me and my ability to scale my business and duplicate it and grow, which took me a solid 3 years to figure out how to scale and grow my company. And one of the major reasons was I was refusing to give up control and give people an opportunity to lead. So in order to duplicate a skill set, you have to give people an opportunity to lead and for them to do what you know how to do. And obviously you do this with supervision, you do this with systems, but because I was running my business so much on personality and my own raw skill, I was unable to give somebody complete control because number one, I didn't really know what I was doing. I just knew that it worked. So it was really hard for me to explain and say, okay, this is the system you follow. This is the process that you do in order to grow. I was kind of like, watch me and do this. And everybody works a little bit differently. So until I really took my time and I mapped out my entire day and scheduled it and said, okay, between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m., this is what I'm doing. Between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m., this is what I'm doing. Between 9 and 10, I'm doing this. Between 10 to 2, I'm doing this. From 2 to 4, I'm doing this, right? And I would time block my day and figure out, okay, what am I doing during each of these times? And something that I noticed is whatever my task was, I was 100% focused on that task, meeting that goal. I was not distracted by other things. So a lot of times I saw people really struggle because they would start one thing, they would get distracted by something and then jump to another task. And in reality, like if my task was recruiting, I was meeting my recruiting goal during that recruiting window. So for example, if I was doing interviews from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. and interviews weren't showing up, like on my Zoom link or weren't showing up in my office, I would get on my call list. I would cold call candidates until I could get somebody on the phone to interview. Where I don't see this happening a ton, and this is what I wasn't duplicating, is I wasn't showing somebody like you're devoted to that goal during that time block until that goal is complete. And then you move on to the next goal. It's not just like oh, well, maybe tomorrow it will be better kind of thing, or who do I have 50 million conversations with to improve this? Like, yeah, that's on my to-do list for later. But for right now, during this 4-hour window, my goal is to interview 20 candidates. And if I don't have 20 candidates to interview and they're not showing up, I'm going to find 20 candidates to interview because my job is to interview 20 candidates. So being able to explain that made a huge difference in my productivity and ability to duplicate. Instead of just saying, we do recruiting between 10 and 2 p.m. We do a morning meeting between this time and this time. We do blah, blah, blah between this and this. I was able to really show them a system and say, okay, if we're not getting what we need, this is what we do next. If we're not doing this, this is what we do next. And creating a system for duplication that way. And then after I was able to do that, I could then hand off that task and know that it was going to be done to completion versus just saying, you do interviews from 10 to 2, it doesn't get done. I get frustrated. I take it back over. Instead, I was saying, okay, from 10 to 2, we do 20 interviews. No matter what, you get 20 interviews done. You find a way to find 20 people to interview and showing them all the methods and ways that I could figure that out and do that. Now, at the end of the day, 20 interviews were getting done and there was no more excuse or reason why it couldn't happen. But it wasn't that they were bad at the job. It was that I wasn't an effective teacher communicating that the goal needed to be hit no matter what. It was like if you're a furniture moving company, you're not going to like move half the house, right? You're not going to just like pop into the U-Haul and like throw your hands up midday. Same thing if you're in a sales position and you have a sales goal to hit, like you're going to hit it throughout the day if you have enough focus and determination. So my problem initially was that I was refusing to give up control because I thought no one could do it the way I could do it. When in reality, I just wasn't teaching it properly. And if you're having a hard time teaching, think about a system you can implement or send them to somebody who is a better teacher than you so they can duplicate and teach what you're trying to get across. And instead of just saying, you know what, forget it, I'll do it myself, because what I saw happening is that if I was unwilling to teach, I could not duplicate. I had all these people who were in leadership roles but couldn't build anything because they had no idea what to do because I was not teaching it properly. So, if you're in that position where you're like spinning your wheels, you feel like you have to do everything, you feel like nobody can do what you can do, chances are the way you're explaining it or the way you're breaking it down and how you're setting that goal is something that doesn't feel like it's being able to be obtained. And also, have a little patience. Not everybody's going to be great at something right away. Like you might have to walk through it 2 or 3 times, but I'm telling you, if you can build and develop somebody who can do a task semi as good as you can double your business. You can even triple your business because now instead of just you doing it all, you have 2 people, 3 people, 4 people that are functioning at a very high level, whether it's recruiting, driving sales, interviewing, checking compliance, like whatever it is. Instead of just saying, okay, all falls on me and I'm up until midnight doing all these tasks, you delegate it to the right people, and then you can spend more time with the people who you need to be spending time with and building your business. So that's number 2. I was really, really bad at that skill of delegation, and I was really bad at creating a system to teach. And there are so many good systems now that you can follow and books you can read about this. One of my favorite books I've read about this is Strengths Finder or Finding Your Genius, where you can figure out what you're really good at. And if you find other people who are good at different things, put your people in front of those people and use the team to be able to develop a skill that maybe you don't even have the ability to develop. But the more you can learn how to teach and train and delegate, the faster your business will grow and the easier you'll find it is to scale if you have a lot of people that can do what you know how to do. If you found this helpful and you want to share it with friends, make sure you subscribe and also share this message with anybody on your team that you think needs to hear this. Thanks so much for joining. We'll see you next week. Every week on the Growth and Grit podcast, we bring you real stories and practical tools to help you thrive through challenges. If this resonates with you, make sure you subscribe, follow, and share this podcast with someone who could use it too. It only takes a second, but it would mean the world to us, and it keeps you plugged in to fresh inspiration.